Hi, this is Dr. Stephanie Wautier, and I'm the host of Conversations with a Chiropractor. This is not a health how-to, but rather a conversation with some amazing people I've had the pleasure of being with on my journey of life. Think of it more like Tuesdays with Maury, a fireside chat, or chicken soup for the soul. Grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy this conversation with a chiropractor. Today on Conversations with a Chiropractor, I am joined by Dr. Jerry Del Canton. He is a 1996 graduate of Palmer College of Chiropractic. He has been dedicated to serving the Pittsburgh community for about 30 years. He collaborates closely with neurologists, orthopedic surgeons, and other healthcare professionals, and he has established himself as a leading expert in both sports and auto injury care. He holds advanced certifications from the International Chiropractic Association in spine trauma diagnosis and treatment, as well as from the University of Bridgeport in neurologic dysregulation and neurofeedback. In 2009, Dr. Jerry founded Kids First Chiropractic, one of the first chiropractic clinics in the nation dedicated to pediatric care. Dr. Jerry is also the founder and CEO of Lemongrove Oil, a widely recognized company that provides pain relief solutions to patients and healthcare providers across the U.S. Beyond his professional achievements, Dr. Jerry has been deeply involved in youth sports for over 25 years, serving as a high school and youth baseball coach. He later became the president of the Franklin Regional Athletic Association, leading baseball, softball, and basketball programs for nearly 1,000 families in Murraysville, Pennsylvania. He cherishes time with his wife, Olivia, and he's a proud father to two sons, Daniel and Ryan. Dr. Jerry, thank you for being on this podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be on your show and really appreciate your time.
So I want to know how you got into chiropractic in the first place.
Well, I think like most chiropractors, they had some experience that was an eye-opener for them. And for me, I was an athlete in high school. And I started to go to the chiropractor simply because my brother-in-law had become a chiropractor, opened up a practice, and I started to go there because it just felt good and it helped my body. The one thing that did happen to me that I wasn't expecting was I was a headache sufferer when I was a teenager. After going to the chiropractor for a few weeks, I told my brother-in-law my headaches were gone and couldn't have anything to do with these adjustments I was receiving. So he said to me, boy, I have a lot to teach you. Next thing you know, 4 weeks later, we were in the car driving out to Iowa for a homecoming. And I went out and listened to the speakers out there back in 1991, fell in love with the profession and knew that's what I wanted to do.
Wow. So you had some firsthand life experiences. I mean, any of those of us who have had headaches know how debilitating they can be.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's nice to be able to share that when patients come into the office. And it's odd that a lot of times they don't even disclose that they've been having these headaches. As a chiropractor yourself, we can tell a lot from our exams and x-rays that they may be suffering with headaches. So it's always nice to be able to help them with something that they didn't really even come there for.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember someone once saying, do chiropractors help with sciatica? And I'm like, what do you think sciatica is? Like, of course we do. So it's kind of interesting what the general population may think, you know, that we are capable of and what our specialty is. It sounds like you have a lot of like further education and certifications. Tell me a little bit about those.
Yeah, so after I graduated, I had really fallen in love with the neurology behind chiropractic and went back and did a 2-year postgraduate study in treating people involved in spinal trauma. I received a certification in chiropractic spinal trauma, which helps with diagnosing and treating those types of conditions, but also it carries further into the medico-legal aspect of it, where I serve as expert in witness testimony at times. And I really enjoyed that aspect of chiropractic is the neurology behind what we do.
Very, very cool. And so much information out there. I'm so happy that we're catching up a little bit with research in chiropractic because that was so lacking for so many years.
Yeah, one of the cool things that just happened, I don't know if you know, but right here in my hometown, the University of Pittsburgh is having the first ever chiropractic curriculum that's not actually just at a chiropractic college. It just opens this fall. It begins, yes.
Oh my gosh.
And it's based on, they're trying to base it all on research.
Wow. So someone can go to the university there and get their doctorate in chiropractic?
I'm sorry, a trimester program, 3 years postgraduate. And they have incorporated, they're trying to incorporate with the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, UPMC, just a research-based treatment for chiropractic. And hopefully it's going to advance us and, not take away from some of the philosophy that we have, that is so powerful behind what we do as well.
Absolutely.
So I'm hoping it's going to be a good thing, but I do worry that we might lose the power of the actual adjustment.
I just met with someone who went to, I'm not going to name the school. I mean, you and I are Palmer grads, and for anyone who knows anything about chiropractic, we are the fountainhead. Palmer is where this entire profession began in Davenport, Iowa. And a lot of schools have very different philosophies on how they're going to educate, how they're going to train their docs. And this doc came from a pretty straight line, moving a little bit into the medicalized chiropractic and very much into tonal chiropractic and philosophy. And so I always say to people, you can go to a school and still maintain your passion and that desire and that sort of information and knowledge, but it'll be really interesting to see how this transpires. I was not aware of it.
Yeah, I feel the same regarding Palmer. And when I go back to Davenport, I've gone back the last 3 years for homecoming, and it is a special place. It really is. And, I appreciate all chiropractors and all of the training, but I really do believe after being at multiple chiropractic colleges across the country for postgraduate training, that place is not only near and dear to my heart, but there is a specialness about it. If you went there, then you know what I'm talking about. I remember one time my dad talked to me 2 weeks after being in school, and he asked me about how class was going. And I remember telling him this story. He reminds me about it to this day. I remember just walking through the halls, and if you saw a piece of paper on the ground, you picked it up and you tried to preserve the beauty and the tradition of the school, and you really took pride in it. And I do think that carries on with the students that are there today.
Absolutely. I think about all of the Enneagrams that were on the walls, like all of the quotes on the walls.
Yeah.
And I remember the quote, and I say it often, like chiropractic is specific or it is nothing. Especially with all of these TikToks where people are getting like crunched and cracked and like basically the WWF wrestling moves. I'm like, that is not a chiropractic adjustment.
I don't like to see that at all.
Yeah.
I think I hate to use the term, but it bastardizes our profession. I really believe that for people just trying to get some clicks and it definitely does not help the profession, in my opinion.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm going to move on from here, and I'm going to ask you a little bit about your kid's first chiropractic, the first chiropractic clinic in the nation dedicated to pediatric care. Tell me how that started.
So I had mostly a family practice, and I treated a lot of auto injury, but I had a couple cases, some patients that had come into my office that really left a lasting impression on me. One was a young girl who had no hair. Now, I'm a bald guy myself, but I wish chiropractic adjustments could return hair. But this young girl had come into my office, and she was 7. And she was as bald as a cue ball. Mm-hmm. And her pediatrician had referred her there. And to be quite honest, I thought it was some type of a joke. And long story short, after we started adjusting her, I started to notice within 2 weeks, she had some peach fuzz on her hair. I'll jump ahead to the end of the story. A year and a half later, the girl had a whole head of hair. Some patches were still missing, but then he tried everything prior to that. And I did find that when I evaluated her upper neck was severely misaligned, very unstable. She had a very difficult delivery. With the mom had a very, very difficult delivery. with the forceps and cord wrapped around her neck. And so she did have some things that, did cause some trauma to her neck. She had such a great result with that. And another story was a young girl who had eczema all over her body. She was probably 14 months old at the time. Her dad was a patient of mine. She came into the office and they had socks on the girl's hands to prevent her from scratching. I said to the dad, well, we got to get her checked out. He said, well, I didn't even know that chiropractors took care of kids. Similar story, neck problems, very unstable, difficult delivery. Started treating her. 6 months later, the eczema was 95% gone. And it returned after she fell out of a wagon and landed on her forehead.
Wow.
One time her daddy had her at the zoo. The funny part about that story is 20 years later, the girl originally had moved out of town. She moved back into town, came into my office, didn't know me, had no idea she wanted my office just by happen chance. And I said, do you know who I am? Do you remember me at all? And she didn't. And I told her the story. She's like, you know what? I heard the story, but it turned out to be a great story with that young lady. Seeing those things led me into that realm. Plus I loved being with the children, taking care of the children, and I was very good at it. So it was something that I pursued.
Were your kids young at the time?
Yes, they were. And it was nice to be able to, be in that mindset of young children at the time.
Yeah. My son was actually 6 weeks old when I walked across the stage to get my Doctor of Chiropractic diploma. And so those early years in practice, I was so consumed with getting all of my continuing education in peds and all of the postpartum stuff with Genie Ohm and the ICPA. I think that so many people lack awareness that I literally had someone today that said, do you adjust babies? And this is year 18 for me. I'm like, yeah. I think that even though we probably in our lives and in our offices are continually educating our patients, there's still more education to be had for the general population to really understand. And I always say, the adjustment is light and gentle. It's not like an aggressive crack crunch, it's not a tick-tock crack crunch. It's just very light, gentle, but powerful. I love the story of who would have thought that a young girl, her hair would grow back. I mean, that's amazing to me as a chiropractor.
It was, and then years later, she wound up donating 9 inches of her hair to Locks for Love. And that was after one of her first days of school. She took scissors to her forehead and cut a bunch of hair. So it's been a funny story with her. It's yeah. But I'll tell you, I loved Kids First Chiropractic. It was a lot of fun. But anybody that works with, we had a full house of children all the time. It was very demanding. It was very hard for me to keep that pace up.
Yeah.
With all the children. So, we did for probably about 8 years before we moved to Del Canton Chiropractic, and I got back to focusing on a lot of the auto traumas and car accident victims, sports related injuries.
And kind of going back to that neurology base that you had.
Yeah, because that was, as much as I love kids and I'm passionate about them, I was very passionate about the neurology part of chiropractic and how we can help people that have been traumatized.
Yeah. I think that all of our practices probably have transformed as we've grown and as our life experiences have changed, because my son just graduated from high school, but he was a high school athlete, and my focus really shifted. It's interesting, like our practices sort of mirror or mimic what's going on in our lives, I think, sometimes too. Yeah. And what's the phrase about change? I'll have to find it. Like change or die, something like that.
Yeah, you're right, though. And I had heard once before that every 10 years, your interests sort of shift. And I found that to be I think that's sort of true.
So now I'm going to ask you about Lemongrove. And actually, I'm going to tell our listeners. So I am an absolute horrible checker of emails, of social media stuff, of like LinkedIn. And you had written me a message on LinkedIn, introducing this new product, Lemongrove Oil, which is like a CBD, non-THC, and you can give all the beautiful, background information. And I was like, sure, send me a sample. I really didn't think much of it. What struck me, Dr. Jerry, is that with that sample, you gave also a handwritten note. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, who is this man? Like, who is the CEO of this company that wrote me a handwritten thank you note for for trying the sample? And I loved it, tried it on my patients. They love that gentle cooling. We love that bright, fresh, fragrance aroma. It's so clean and so pure, and it's not like a perfume smell. It's like truly authentic lemongrass. And that is how I first came upon this product. Tell me how you invented it.
Well, first off, it's not what I believe with this company. It's not what's in the bottle necessarily, it's what's behind it. And our integrity drives everything that we do. We want to make the highest quality products, and we want to do it with the most state-of-the-art, innovative delivery methods. And we wanted to just be better than what's out there. We wanted a consistency that was backed by science, but also we wanted it to be like something that was ours, something that was chiropractic, something that was made to support the healers, because I think that a lot of times, I don't want to say that we get overlooked, but sometimes just as healers, we like to have something that is ours and something that we can trust in. In fact, BioFreeze was, if you've heard of BioFreeze, which most people have, BioFreeze was started less than 1 mile from where I'm sitting right now, from my house.
Wow.
When BioFreeze first got started, it was only distributed through chiropractors. And I've talked to the owners that created it back in the day, and they told me they wanted to create something that chiropractors could have as their own. And so I really wanted to create a product that we believed in, that worked, that was all natural. And so we created it in our clinic. We haven't looked back. I mean, we're in 14 states now, and we're growing rapidly. And once again, it's about our customer service, our commitment to the excellent products, the ingredients, and the delivery methods that we use. So that's sort of the motto we stand by.
Yeah.
But the way we began the company is way, way different. Sort of an interesting experience. If you'd like, I can elaborate on how it all got started.
I would love that, because I think you and I both know Dr. Brian Kolbita, who created or invented the posture plank and posture plank flex. And I am enamored with people's stories and the steps that they took. And probably, I think it's oftentimes inspirational, because I'm sure that you met some resistance that you had to overcome. I mean, I'm sure that it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm going to invent something, and then you go and you get a plastic bottle and you fill it up. Like, I'm sure that there were so many steps to this process. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting story. So one day I had a patient come into my office, and he had told me that he was helping these farmers convert their dairy farm into a hemp farm, and they were going to start to make CBD products. He asked if I'd be interested in trying some of their products. So I said, of course I would try it. I didn't know anything about CBD, but of course I would try it. And it's probably about 6 or 8 months later. It was the end of the day, and this farmer and his wife actually showed up at my office and asked if I'd be willing to try some of their products. So I opened up this little tin, and it looked like seaweed, and it smelled like skunk, and it was I bought 20 bottles of it, and I was not planning on using it, but I just sort of wanted to help him out. But I bought it, and I remember saying to my assistant, I said, there is no way I will ever put this on a patient of mine.
Yeah.
And so I had it in the back, and then a few weeks later, a patient asked me about CBD, and I said, listen, I don't know much about it, but if you really want to try this, I got something in the back. I can put it on you, but it's probably going to stain your clothes, so don't let it touch your clothes. It's going to smell like a skunk, and I don't know if it's going to work, but if you want to try it, we'll try it. Guy said, okay, sure, we'll try it. Well, the next day he called up and says, can I buy some? So then I started to investigate CBD, cannabinoids, and trying to really understand what all the hype was about.
Yeah.
I found it to be amazing, because the way the cannabinoids work in our body, it's a regulating system like homeostasis, or like as chiropractors, we talk about our innate intelligence, and with the chiropractic adjustment. So I'm starting to think that, okay, well, there's something here. It's been around for thousands of years. Maybe I should look into this a little bit more. Plus, it seems to be working as the more and more patients I put it on. So I sort of went all in on this. And I've always been an inventor. I've always been someone who's been an entrepreneur since I was a little kid. I always liked to build things and create things. And so I thought, okay, well, let me see where this takes me. So I got in touch with a chemical engineer and I said, I want to build a product, but I want it to feel like this. I want it to look like this. I want it to smell like this. I want it to last this long on the skin because we're going to be using it in a chiropractic office. And so I just wanted to create something that I could use in my office.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted non-medicinal smell. I didn't want THC to be involved. I didn't want to have to deal with people being concerned about drug tests and so forth.
Yeah.
And of course, I just wanted it to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I investigated more and more, I found the best delivery methods out there, that we've created a certain delivery system, which is called a nano-emulsification, which basically takes our CBD molecules, makes it very, very small, down to water soluble, so it's absorbing 90 to 98%, whereas traditional CBD molecules are absorbing an estimated 9 to 13%. So this is much more effective. It works faster. And so we've definitely found that through trial and error. So we've used this as I created this product on thousands of patients and got their feedback, saw what they liked, saw what they didn't like. I mean, we had our ups and downs along the way. And I mean, we tried some different things that were definitely not good.
I'm sure.
But,
I mean, how do you go from seaweed skunk paste to this creamy light lotion that smells absolutely amazing?
Well, so I had an incredible engineer that worked with me at the beginning. And then sadly, in the middle of all of this, I got a call to talk to him on a Thursday, and his wife called me on a Saturday, and he passed away.
Wow.
In the middle of all this from a massive heart attack.
I'm so sorry.
That was tough because at that point I was thinking, you know what, I'm not going to start all this over. I'm not going to try to explain exactly what I want to create to another chemist. So I really, really contemplated what I wanted to do and did a lot of praying about it. I decided to come back and make the product even better, find a way to make it even better than it was before. And that took another almost year,
Wow.
half of really taking the old product and transforming it into what it is today. I miss him dearly. He was a great man, very instrumental in building the products. Dealing in the CBD world is not an easy thing to do from a business perspective because it's still considered so new in the United States. So, but we've jumped through those hoops. And like I said, we've created an excellent product that people love and something that we can stand behind. And we're very proud of. We're very proud to be able to help the healers heal other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been amazing as I've used it because we have all the menthol lines, right? You mentioned BioFreeze, which is just cooling and it has menthol. And I use Rock Sauce, which has a little capsaicin and camphor and sombra. But there are times people don't want to smell pepperminty. You know, they don't want to. It's funny. It's my 80-year-olds who are like, I don't want to smell like an old person. And my 20-year-olds, you know, are cool with the menthol peppermint smell, but there is like this stigma of smelling pepperminty, you know? And I'm like, oh, hey, I have this new product and it's CBD and it's cooling and everyone loves it. Everybody loves it.
Well, we were able to get the menthol up to a pretty high percentage. So you feel the effect immediately, but with the use of camphor as well. But by using the essential oils, the lemongrass, the citrusy oils, the other things that we have added, the terpenes that we have added to get it to the scent that we have it at now, it's very delightful. And that's one of the biggest things that people smell it and they're like, wow, that smells great. What is that? And it's funny because a lot of times people, to tell you a little story, what happened was we could not recreate the scent whenever we changed to the new chemical engineer. We could not, we were just off. It was off a tiny bit. Everything else was better, but we just could not get the scent exactly right. And what we had to do was we invested in terpene, into certain terpenes to add into to get it the exact scent that we wanted. And that took a long, long time to get it exactly the way we wanted. And we've done research and we've found that 90% of people really, really enjoy the smell. And 90% of people liking anything is almost impossible, but we're about 90% of us really enjoy it.
That's amazing. And I can only imagine, I truly can't even envision what it must have been like to sort of continue to go back to the drawing board and make a new batch and make a new batch and try to perfect that process and all of the time and effort and energy that went into creating this product. I mean, you're making it very succinct, but I'm sure that the weight of it felt enormous. There were probably days you wanted to give up.
Yeah, there were many days that I wanted to give up, but I've never been a quitter. I'm very driven, always have been. And I think like most entrepreneurs know that, you get caught up in that, we sometimes are perfectionists, but at the end, when you completed something and you have what you built and you made, you really forget about all the hard times to get to that point because you have something that you're very proud of. And so everything that I went through with that, the late nights, the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, mixing products and mixing chemicals and thinking you have it right and you don't. And then you come up with something you think super and then it doesn't absorb well. And then you think you have something pretty decent. Then you go and you test it on 100 patients and they're like, yeah, this isn't right just yet. And then you sort of go back to the drawing board. But like I said, I'm thrilled with where we are now. And, people really seem to enjoy it. And one good thing is, even though we're such a small company, we're trying to scale, the people that have ordered have continued to order. And the people that have requested samples, almost all of them wind up buying.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a great product. We're very well priced when we compare against the Sombras, the CBD clinics, the biofreezes, the stop pains, the other products that are out there. None of them have everything that we offer. And when you look at the comparison, we're positioned in a pretty good place because number one, we've got a great product.
And it's unique and very different from some of those other topicals because you're affecting the endocannabinoid system, which, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know a ton, but we're affecting the inflammatory factors, we're affecting the pain cycle, because we all have an endocannabinoid system that has the receptors on our cells. Am I correct?
You're exactly right. We have in these nerve endings that these receptors come out and they regulate how much of a cold sort of pain or inflammation we have or we need. So this is a regulating system that we already have in our body. The phytocannabinoids basically means phyto means plant. And so when they discovered that the phytocannabinoids are very similar to the endo, which is in our body, the endocannabinoids, they work in the same fashion.
And that's going to give us a level of pain control or assistance with pain and inflammation, really, that none of those other purely menthol products are going to do, right?
Yeah, the menthol products are, to be quite honest, the menthol that we use, the menthol is great because it makes you feel like better instantly, but that's not really what the true beauty of the product is. The true beauty is the CBD, and it's the water-soluble nano-emulsified CBD. Because after we break down those molecules into real tiny particles, we coat them with a liposomal layer that is often found in high-end pharmaceutical products. It's all natural, but it helps with the absorption even more. So there's a lot more to it than just the menthol. If it was just menthol, then biofreeze or stop pain or sombra, those things are fine, but they're not really getting down to the source of the inflammation, the source of the pain.
So, Dr. Jerry, right now, is Lemongrove Oil only available through a healthcare provider?
Yeah, it's strictly through healthcare providers. They'd have to get approved to purchase, of course, but we don't sell out to retail. We're strictly through distributors and through chiropractic offices and other healthcare providers like med spas and so forth, too.
Wonderful. And Wautier Wellness in Marquette, Michigan carries Lemongrove Oil if anyone listening wants to reach out.
Yeah, go try it out. Get some great chiropractic care too. Really feel like I'm juggling more than I can handle, but I realized it's not about just the time management. It's about intentional living. It sounds cliche, but it's true. I know one of the most important lessons I've ever learned came from my high school football coach, and he always said, surround yourself with good people. And that advice always stuck. I built my life around that, my house, my family, my business, the clinic. My family keeps me very grounded and encouraged and constantly reminded that life isn't about money or the credentials or titles. It's about the relationships. And I've always believed that that's what really matters. And I have a wonderful patient base. I somehow find a way to manage it. My wife is amazing. She's very supportive. She helps me with everything. And we've just got good people around us to help us be able to do everything that we want to do.
Well, you've done a monumental thing by navigating your very busy chiropractic practice and then creating and inventing this product. I love the word legacy. Like, you're creating a legacy for the next generations. Dr. Jerry did this, created this product, invented this product, spent all of the blood, sweat, and tears to create it. And it's all for good. It's for the good of all humanity, like truly, because as we know, so many people struggle with pain, and we chiropractors are just looking for one other bit of help to help our patients. So thank you from the bottom of this chiropractor's heart.
Well, thank you for your kind words. You're so nice to listen to, and I'm really glad that we got to meet, and I really appreciate everything that you're doing to spread the good word on everything. So thank you so very much.
Dr. Jerry, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. I am going to have lots of information in the show notes about your amazing product.
We just started an affiliate program, and we already have students that are in chiropractic school, and we have a lot of new practitioners that are just getting started and still connected with a lot of other chiropractors. And we have some other affiliates, some chiropractors that are very established, some are group administrators on Facebook pages. We will have some information on the affiliate program that it's already on the website. If you want to go there, you can click on there, you can apply. It'd be pretty lucrative and a great team to be a part of. So we'd love to have anybody that was interested to check that out.
That sounds great, Dr. Jerry. Tell me again what the website is for our listeners.
Lemongroveoil.com.
Easy peasy, lemongroveoil.com. So all my chiropractic friends out there, jump on there, become an affiliate. Yes, students, anybody who's rising up into this healing community.
And they get free samples there for all chiropractors. Get free samples to try our product out. We'll ship it out for free, no questions asked. We just want you to try us out.
Love it. Love it, Dr. Jerry. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast, would you please rate it, review it, like, or subscribe? You can find me on social media at wautierwellness.com, Dr. Stephanie Wautier on Instagram, or Wautier Wellness Chiropractic and Massage on Facebook. And I'm so curious where your next conversation will take you.